always begins the same way. A strange stillness in the atmosphere, like the air itself is waiting. You feel it, though you can't explain it. A knowing, a whisper too soft for the ear, but too loud to ignore in the heart. Something is coming. And not just anything. This is personal. This was made with your name on it. You've been walking through days that feel too long and nights that feel too quiet. People around you think you're doing fine. You even smile when they ask. But inside, you've been holding your breath for far too long, waiting for something to shift, something real, something different. And just when you're about to let go of hope altogether, God leans in and says, "This would come for you." Not might, not maybe, would. Because some promises aren't optional. Some breakthroughs don't need your permission to show up. They're written into your destiny like sunrise into morning. They don't come because you earned them. They come because God declared them. But here's the truth no one likes to talk about. Before the promise reaches your hands, it has to pass through fire. And sometimes, so do you. You thought the storm was punishment, didn't you? You thought the silence meant God had turned away. You thought the delay was rejection. But it wasn't. It was preparation. The longer the wait, the heavier the blessing. Not because God is cruel, but because what's coming for you carries too much weight to arrive before you're ready to hold it. That's why the journey hurt. That's why the doors stayed closed. That's why the people left. That's why you had to stand alone. It wasn't to break you. It was to build you into the version of yourself that could survive the next level. And now, it's time. Heaven has moved. The silence is breaking. The enemy has already heard the footsteps of what's coming for you, and that's why the pressure intensified. That's why everything around you tried to shake at once. It wasn't random. It was retaliation, because the enemy only attacks what carries power. You think you're small? You think you're forgotten? Then why does hell keep showing up at your doorstep? Why does discouragement keep circling you like a vulture? Why do your thoughts turn to chaos the moment you get close to peace? Because you are carrying something the enemy couldn't stop from being born, so now it's trying to abort it before you see it. But God says, this would come for you. That relationship you thought was over? Restoration is coming. That calling you buried? Resurrection is coming. That version of you that you gave up on, oh, it's already on the way. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too far behind. The lie you've been believing, that it's over, that it passed you by, that others were chosen instead, is breaking off your spirit right now. Because God doesn't miss. And He didn't miss when He planned this moment. You thought it was just another day, just another video, just another piece of content floating in the sea of the internet. But it wasn't. It was divine interruption. This message, these exact words, they were coming for you. Do you understand? God scheduled this. Long before you ever knew to ask for a sign, He was already writing it. You think God forgot you? Look around. You're still breathing, still standing, still here, still surviving storms that were designed to kill you. That wasn't strength. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't luck. That was preservation, because what's coming needs you alive, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, prophetically. You were never fighting just for now. You were fighting for what's next. And now it's near. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to perform for it. You don't have to beg God for it. Because the thing about divine appointments is
they find you. You don't have to know the whole plan. You just need to be still long enough to hear the whisper again. This would come for you. This open door, this next chapter, this healing that doesn't make sense, this clarity that cuts through all confusion, this restoration that touches places no one else saw broken. It's not just favor, it's fulfillment. God doesn't make random moves. He makes remembered ones, and He remembers you. There are seasons when it feels like everyone gets their answer but you. They get married, they get promoted, they find purpose, they glow, and you? You scroll, you applaud, you clap for miracles that look like the ones you asked for, except they're happening in someone else's life. You smile, you try to be happy for them, but in the dark, behind closed doors, you ask the honest questions. God, what about me? Did you forget what you told me? Was it all in my head? But if you're still here, if you're hearing this now, then this is your answer. He didn't forget. He didn't change His mind. He's not punishing you. He's preparing the arrival, because the delivery of the promise is delicate. It has to arrive in the right timing, the right condition, the right atmosphere. And that's why it didn't come when you wanted it. Because God wasn't just preparing the blessing, He was preparing you. There's a version of you now that can handle what would have destroyed the old you. That's not failure. That's growth. And that's why the blessing is coming now, not before, not later. Now. You're about to walk into rooms where no one knows your pain, but everyone sees your glow. You're about to touch doors that stay open because they were built for you, not borrowed from someone else. You're about to feel the weight of glory in places where there used to be the weight of shame.
You're not stuck. You're aligned. You're not unlucky. You're anointed. You're not forgotten. You're remembered. This is the season where you stop trying to convince people to see your worth and start walking in rooms knowing you already carry value. This is the season where you stop shrinking for approval and start standing in purpose. This is the season where you realize the weight was the proof. Because if it was easy to get, it wouldn't have been sent from heaven. Anything divine has resistance, and everything holy goes through warfare. That's how you know it's real. So if it's been hard, if you've cried in silence, if you've questioned your sanity, if you've wondered if any of this was even worth it, then congratulations, you're closer than you think. Because this moment, it's not just encouragement, it's confirmation. This would come for you, and it is. The people who misunderstood you, they'll watch. The ones who walked away, they'll remember. The ones who doubted you, they'll see. But this isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving God right. Because when God speaks something over your life, nothing can cancel it. Not time, not failure, not fear, not even you. The promise is stronger than your mistakes. The calling is louder than the shame. The grace is deeper than the guilt. So stop looking around for proof. The proof is in you. Your survival is the evidence. Your breath is the prophecy. Your persistence is the promise unfolding in slow motion. Don't quit now. Don't go silent. Don't give up. This would come for you. And in just a moment, it will. You didn't imagine this. That ache in your spirit? That unshakable pull towards something you can't name? That wasn't a coincidence. That was heaven tugging on your soul. Because what's written for you isn't silent. It hums beneath everything. In your restlessness, in your tears, in that strange peace you feel in the middle of chaos. It's all been God, trying to get your attention, trying to remind you, not everything you carry is supposed to be explained. Some things are only meant to be obeyed.
And you've been doing that, even when it didn't make sense, even when it cost you relationships, even when you had to walk away from places where your name was known, just to enter places where your name wasn't even mentioned. But let me ask you this. Have you noticed how the discomfort increased lately? The old things that used to bring comfort now feel heavy. The old circles now feel foreign. The old habits now leave you empty. That's not failure. That's divine eviction. God is pushing you out of rooms you've already outgrown because you can't stay buried and be called at the same time. And make no mistake, you've been called, not by man, not by popularity, not by applause, but by the voice that thundered across the chaos in Genesis and said, "Let there be." That same voice has spoken over your life. Let there be purpose. Let there be healing. Let there be clarity. Let there be release. Let there be power. That's why it feels like something is cracking inside of you. Not breaking, cracking. The shell is coming off. The fear is falling away. The old version of you is gasping its final breath because the new one is rising. It had to come this way. Not fast, not loud, but slow, painful, real. Because quick success fades, but slow growth roots. You're not being punished. You're being planted. That's why it's dark. That's why you feel buried. But seeds always feel buried before they bloom. You weren't meant to stay in that pit. It was never permanent, just a passage. You've cried long enough there, questioned long enough there, blamed yourself long enough there. Now it's time to come up. No more pretending you're okay when you're drowning. No more dimming your light because people around you can't handle its brightness. No more explaining why you're different. You are different, and that difference is what hell tried to extinguish. Because if you ever walked fully into who you are, if you ever believed you were chosen, if you ever acted like you were backed by heaven, you would turn the very ground you stand on into holy fire. And that terrifies the enemy, because you don't need a crowd. You don't need a pulpit. You don't need a platform. You just need permission, and you already have it. You already have heaven's yes. So why are you still waiting for man's approval? God already approved you before they left, before they hurt you, before they misunderstood your silence, before they confused your discernment for distance. You were already set apart, already stamped by grace, already covered in mercy. That's why it didn't work when they tried to ruin you. That's why the betrayal didn't bury you. That's why the depression didn't destroy you. Because you weren't built to break. You were built to be broken open. Because inside you, there's oil, there's fire, there's a word, and it's not meant to stay contained. You were always meant to pour out, and now you will. But listen closely. This next move, it's not going to look like the last one. It won't come through the usual doors. It won't arrive with announcement. It'll be quiet, sudden.
Holy. It will bypass logic. It will challenge your comfort. It will demand your yes before your understanding. Because what's coming for you is bigger than what you prayed for. It's going to stretch your faith and multiply your impact. But first, it's going to isolate you. Yes, you heard right. Before the elevation comes separation. Don't fight it. Don't panic when the phone goes silent. Don't mourn the doors that close on their own. Don't chase what's trying to exit. Everything that's leaving now is making room for what's arriving. And it's coming. The opportunity, the alignment, the divine connection. It's already in motion. It's been circling your life, waiting for the right atmosphere. And that atmosphere is being formed right now in your surrender. That's why the warfare is intense. That's why the enemy keeps sending distractions, because the moment you align, it lands. You don't have to force it. You don't have to hustle your way into it. You just have to say yes. Yes to the unknown. Yes to the process. Yes to the pruning. Yes to the purpose. Yes, even when it hurts. Because pain is the price of birthing the promise. It's how heaven expands in your soul. It's how faith becomes fire. And some of you, you've been through too much to play small now. You've seen too much. You've lost too much. You've survived too much. You didn't walk through that valley just to blend in. You came out different, marked, tested, unshakable. This is the season you stop apologizing for your scars. They're not signs of failure. They're proof of your survival. And survival? That was never the end. It was the beginning, because now you're ready. Not perfect, not polished, but ready. Ready to rise, ready to walk into rooms you used to dream about, ready to carry what others dropped, ready to speak what others were afraid to say, ready to live like you believe you're chosen, because you are. And that's what's coming for you. Favor that doesn't make sense, peace that confuses people, joy that doesn't match your circumstances, opportunities that you didn't even apply for, strategies that come in visions, provision that shows up just in time, healing that touches generations, restoration so personal you'll cry alone in gratitude. This isn't hype. This is heaven. This isn't a wish. This is a word. This is what God said. And what God says stands, not because you're worthy, but because He is faithful. Not because you earned it, but because He promised it. And heaven never sends empty packages. When God says this would come for you, He means it. So now, take a breath. Let the fear fall. Let the shame go. Let the doubt dissolve. You don't need to be afraid of what's coming, because this time, it's not a test, it's a reward, and it's already on the way. Sometimes you look around and wonder if you're the only one left still believing. You've seen others move on, you've seen them settle, you've seen them stop praying for what they once swore they couldn't live without, but something in you wouldn't let go. Even after the doors slammed shut, even after the silence got louder, even after your own heart started to doubt, you still held on. And maybe you thought that was weakness. Maybe you thought that was just you being stubborn, not spiritual. But here's what you didn't realize. That wasn't just you holding on to the promise. That was the promise holding on to you. It knew you'd try to walk away. It knew your strength would run out, so it buried itself in your spirit where no failure could reach it. And when the time came, it started to rise again. You've been feeling that, haven't you? That strange surge of hope, even when everything around you looks the same. That pull to prepare, even though you don't know for what. That internal shift, like your soul is patting its bags for a place your feet haven't walked yet. That's because something's coming for you, and it's not what you expect. This isn't just about blissing. This is about becoming. God isn't trying to just fix your life. He's trying to unveil your identity. Because you've been living under labels, too much of your journey has been shaped by lies, the ones they spoke and the ones you agreed with. You're too late, you're too damaged, you're too inconsistent, you're not enough. So you wore the mask, you showed up pretending you were fine. You learned how to survive, not how to live. You made pain your personality, and in that pain you started shrinking. But today that ends. Because what's coming for you won't recognize that mask. It's coming for the real you, the you before the heartbreak, the you before the rejection, the you before life convinced you to be small. God never made you to be invisible. He made you to carry His light, and light doesn't apologize for being bright. So why do you?
Why do you dim your voice in rooms where you were sent to shift the atmosphere? Why do you question your worth when heaven already validated it? Why do you doubt your future when God is the one who wrote it? You've been walking around like a question mark, but heaven calls you an exclamation point. And that shift from questioning to declaring, that's what unlocks the next chapter. Because you can't walk into this season insecure. You can't tiptoe through doors that were built to swing open under your confidence. You have to own it, not because of pride, but because of purpose. God has already cleared the path. Now you just have to stop apologizing for walking it. No more hesitating, no more asking for signs when you already know the direction. No more begging for permission from people who were never assigned to your destiny. This next level won't be explained. It will be walked out. In silence, in obedience, in raw faith. And yes, it will cost you. It will cost your comfort, your logic, your timelines, your need to control. But what you'll gain, what you'll gain will wreck your soul in the best way. You'll gain intimacy with God that no platform can offer. You'll gain clarity that no course can teach. You'll gain authority in places where you once felt invisible. And you'll realize all along the journey wasn't punishment. It was positioning. You were never meant to stay stuck. You were meant to be sent. And now the signal has been given. Go. Go where? Go into the unknown. Go into the next chapter. Go into the version of you that scares your doubt and excites your destiny. Go because staying silent won't save you. Go because shrinking won't protect you. Go because your purpose is louder than your past. You've waited long enough. You've cried long enough. You've proven yourself in silence long enough. This is the moment where it all begins to make sense, where the pain reveals its purpose, where the silence begins to speak, where the detours point you to the real road. Don't be surprised when it comes suddenly, when the call comes out of nowhere, when the opportunity shows up without warning, when the connection is made in one conversation. It won't take long, because it doesn't take long for God to do what He's already finished. The miracle is not in the making, it's in the manifestation. He's not figuring it out, He's unfolding it.
And you, yes, you, are in the right place at the right time to receive it. So don't flinch when the blessing knocks. Don't hide when the shift arrives. Don't dismiss the small thing just because it doesn't look like the big thing you prayed for. God often wraps glory in simplicity, breakthroughs in obedience, favor in inconvenience. That idea you almost ignored, it's a seed. That person you almost walked past, they're a divine key. That door you assumed was too small, it's a gateway to something massive. But you have to look with spiritual eyes, because the enemy knows something's on the way too. That's why the attack came stronger recently, why the depression got heavier, why the confusion hit out of nowhere, why people started falling away without warning, why you questioned yourself harder than ever before. Because spiritual activity increases before divine delivery. Hell always tries to stir chaos before heaven brings order. But you're not called to live in reaction. You're called to live in revelation. And Revelation says, God said this would come for you. Not almost, not maybe, would. And it's here. You're not just stepping into a blessing. You're stepping into alignment. And alignment is when everything that looked broken starts making sense. the betrayals, the waiting seasons, the hidden years, the battles you couldn't tell anyone about. All of it was preparation. It wasn't just about what you'd receive. It was about what you'd carry. Because this is bigger than you. This isn't just about your house. It's about your legacy. It's not just about your healing. It's about every soul your healing will inspire. It's not just about your platform. It's about your obedience echoing across generations. That's why it took time. That's why it required tears. That's why it wasn't easy. You weren't being built for a moment. You were being built for movement. And now it begins. It doesn't look like much at first. The shift, the sign, the evidence that what God spoke is actually arriving. It doesn't come wrapped in thunder or flashing lights. No grand announcement, no viral moment. Just a whisper, a soft knowing in your spirit. Something's different. You don't know how to explain it. You just know you're not the same. Your fears feel smaller. Your hope feels louder. And the voices that used to shake you, they suddenly seem silent. You're not imagining it. You're being transformed. Not into someone new, but into the real you. The one God saw when He formed you in secret. The one who isn't afraid to take up space. The one who doesn't apologize for their fire. The one who knows their value isn't tied to performance. That version of you, the one that hell tried to suffocate, is finally breathing. And that's what this season is really about. Yes, the blessing is coming. Yes, the opportunity is on the way. Yes, the answer is near. But above all of that, the awakening. That's the real miracle. Because what good is a new season if you carry the same broken mindset into it? God isn't just bringing the promise. He's healing the part of you that thought you deserved it. That's what He's after. Not just external shift, internal resurrection. Because a gift in the hands of someone who doesn't believe they're worthy turns into a burden. And God doesn't want you to sabotage your own favor. So He slows you down, strips the noise, sits you in silence, until the lies fall off, until the masks crack, until the voice of shame loses its grip. It's not punishment, it's protection. You're being rewired. Your faith is no longer built on what you see, it's built on who you know. And you know God, even when He's quiet, even when He delays, even when you don't feel Him. Your roots go deep now. You don't flinch when the wind hits. You've been through enough storms to know that God doesn't abandon ships. He stills seas. That's why you're calm now. Not because everything's perfect, but because you finally understand peace isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of trust. You trust Him. You trust the process. And because of that, you're about to walk into something undeniable. Something that doesn't just bless you, it redeems everything that tried to break you. You're going to look back at seasons you hated, and you're going to say, thank you. Because now you'll see what you couldn't see back then. Now you'll realize the pain wasn't random. It was strategic. The loneliness, it deepened your intimacy with God. The loss, it stripped away false security. The delay, it taught you how to hear His voice without needing a crowd. You were being built. Not fast, not loud, but strong. And now you're ready. Not for everything to be easy, but for everything to be worth it. Because here's the truth. God never promised the path wouldn't hurt. He promised He'd be with you through it. And He has been. In every tear, in every quiet night, in every moment you almost gave up. He was there, whispering strength, guarding your heart, fighting battles you didn't see. So don't you dare believe the lie that you've been walking alone. If you could see in the Spirit right now, you'd realize you've never taken a single step by yourself. He's always been there. And now He's about to show you why the wait was worth it. There are things coming that you didn't pray for, but He heard your soul ask for them. Moments that will bring closure to wounds you stopped talking about. Encounters that will awaken gifts you forgot you had. Words that will cut through the fog and make you feel seen again. And most of all, joy. Real joy. Not the kind you have to fake for others. Not the kind that disappears when the room empties, but the kind that bubbles up from deep places and says, I'm home. I'm whole. I'm finally in the place I was born for. That's what's coming for you. And when it comes, don't hesitate. Don't disqualify yourself. Don't ask if it's too good to be true. Just say yes. Yes to the favor. Yes to the open doors. Yes to the wild, holy, unexplainable grace of God that keeps finding you in every season. Because here's what you didn't know. Every time you almost gave up, He was holding the blessing behind His back, waiting for you to take one more step. Every time you cried, God, are you even there? He was whispering, just keep walking. You're almost there. And now, you're here, at the edge, at the threshold. The chapter is turning, and everything is about to look different. But it won't feel unfamiliar, because your spirit has already been here. You've seen it in dreams. You've felt it in glimpses. You've tasted it in worship. And now, you'll walk in it fully. This is what He meant when He said this would come for you.
Not just a moment, but a movement. Not just a blessing, but a birthing. Not just change, but transformation. And it's all happening now. Not because you chased it, not because you forced it, but because you surrendered. And heaven always responds to surrender. Always. There's a sound heaven makes when the season shifts. It's not thunder. It's not fire. It's alignment. A deep, unshakable harmony that begins to move through everything you touch. Things start fitting again. Paths become clear. Timing begins to make sense. It's not that the world changed overnight. It's that you did. You're seeing with different eyes now. You're no longer looking for what's comfortable. You're looking for what's called. Because somewhere along this journey, you stopped asking, God, when will it happen? And started saying, God, prepare me for it. And that shift, that's everything. That's why doors are beginning to open. That's why certain people are being drawn to you. That's why conversations are starting to carry weight. Because heaven recognizes when a soul is finally ready. Not desperate, not perfect, ready. Ready to carry something eternal without dropping it for attention? Ready to walk in favor without turning it into ego? Ready to influence without compromise? You've been hidden for a reason. The silence wasn't punishment, it was safety. God was protecting your seed from premature exposure. He knew what was inside you would need maturity to survive the spotlight. So He let the world forget your name while He wrote it in heaven. And now, the world's about to remember what heaven never forgot. Because the thing about divine timing is it doesn't ask permission to show up. It comes when the assignment is ripe, when the vessel is empty of pride, when the heart is tender enough to love again, trust again, speak again. You're not behind. You're right on time. Even with the detours, even with the breakdowns, even with the years you thought were wasted. Nothing is wasted in the hands of a Redeemer. He takes the wreckage and makes altars. He takes the heartbreak and writes revival. He takes your history and birds healing in others through it. You thought your story disqualified you? It's the reason you're qualified. Because people don't need perfection, they need proof. Proof that God still restores, that He still answers, that He still walks into graves and calls dead things out by name. And you're living proof. They saw you fall, but they're about to see you rise. They saw you crawl, but they're about to see you fly. They saw the lowest chapter, but they'll witness the highest one written right in front of their eyes, and they'll ask how. And you'll say one word: God. Not your strategy, not your strength, not your wisdom, just God. The God who never forgot the sound of your prayers. The God who kept every tear in a bottle. The God who walked with you when you couldn't even stand. That's who's behind what's coming. And that's why it's unstoppable. Because if man didn't start it, man can't stop it. So stop second-guessing what He already settled. Stop looking for confirmation in places that were never meant to understand your calling. Stop trying to convince people to believe in something God already approved. You don't need them to see it. You just need to keep walking. Because every step forward now is a declaration. I believe. I believe He meant it when He said this would come for you. I believe the delays weren't denials. I believe the pain wasn't pointless. I believe that even when I couldn't trace Him, He was writing my story in gold. And now the ink is dried. The page is turning. And the next line, it's a miracle. It doesn't matter what the world says. It doesn't matter what the numbers look like. It doesn't matter what doors were slammed yesterday. Today is different. Today, heaven speaks over your life. This is the time. And when God says it's time, it is. Even if you don't feel ready, even if your hands are shaking, even if your voice is trembling, say yes. Yes to the divine appointments. Yes to the room you never thought you'd enter. Yes to the message that's bigger than your comfort. Yes to the healing you stopped asking for. Yes to the new beginning that doesn't ask your permission, only your surrender. Because this time, God isn't just shifting your environment. He's shifting you.
Your appetite is changing. What once entertained you now feels empty. What once comforted you now convicts you. What once held you back now gets left behind, quietly, respectfully, finally. You're growing into the person your promise has been waiting for. And the more you become that version of you, the more the right doors unlock like they were waiting for your presence to arrive. You're not chasing anymore, you're attracting. You're not begging anymore, you're receiving. You're not striving anymore, you're standing. Because favor flows where identity is owned. And now, finally, you're beginning to own it. You're not who you were, and you're not who they said you were either. You're the healed version, the bold version, the refined version, the version God saw when everyone else only saw your failure. That version is ready. And that's why this is coming for you. Not because life is fair, but because grace is real. And grace doesn't just restore what you lost, it gives you more than you even knew to ask for. You're not just getting back what was taken. You're getting the upgrade, the multiplied return, the beauty for ashes, the joy for mourning, the double portion for your trouble. This is the season of return. This is the hour of divine compensation. This is the time where God shows you it was never wasted. Every tear, every waiting room, every not yet, every no that made you question your worth, every person who left when you needed them most, every promise that felt delayed, none of it
was wasted because he saw it all. And now he's responding. Not in the way you expected, but in a way that proves he was always ahead of you. He knew the day would come. And now it has. This would come for you. And it's here. You didn't chase it, but it found you. Not because you knew the right people, or said all the right prayers, or fasted with perfect faith. It found you because God sent it. And when God sends something with your name on it, not even your deepest doubts can block the delivery. You tried to move on. You tried to bury the calling. You tried to convince yourself it was just your imagination. But it kept returning. In quiet moments. In midnight tears. In glimpses of what could be if you were brave enough to say yes again. This thing, the stirring in your spirit, it never left, because it was sent to find you, to remind you, to rescue you. From the voice that told you you weren't enough, from the fear that whispered you'd never change, from the lie that your best days are behind you. But listen, they're not behind you. They're unfolding right now. Because heaven has a memory, and every word God spoke over you is still alive, still echoing, still on assignment. Even the ones you forgot, even the ones you doubted, even the ones you gave up on. He didn't. He remembered. That time you said, God, if you're real, show me. That time you whispered, God, use me. That time you prayed, God, don't let this be the end. He heard you, and he moved. Not with lightning, not with noise, but with quiet power. And now the evidence is showing up. Not all at once, but piece by piece. That message that spoke directly to your soul, evidence. That open door you didn't expect, evidence. That shift in your thinking, evidence. That peace you can't explain, evidence. God doesn't need to shout when he moves. His fingerprints are enough. And right now, they're everywhere. On your timing, on your relationships, on the new ideas stirring inside your heart. He's guiding you even when you feel lost. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. And that process, it's sacred. You won't always feel strong in it. You'll have days where doubt creeps in, nights when the silence gets too loud, moments when you wonder if you've missed it. But that's just the friction of transformation. Because becoming doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Like the cracking of a seed before it breaks open and reaches light for the first time. That's what you're walking through.
The cracking, the pressing, the stretching. But after that, the rising. It's coming. That moment when everything starts aligning. When the why behind the pain begins to shine through. When the delay reveals its purpose. When the unanswered prayers return with clarity and beauty you couldn't have written yourself. You'll realize then, none of it was wasted. You weren't forgotten. You weren't passed over. You weren't too late. You were being preserved for the perfect time. And this is that time. You may not feel ready. You may still feel raw. But God uses the raw. He anoints the surrendered. He moves through the unexpected. And what's coming next? It's not just for your benefit. It's for someone else's deliverance. Because when you rise, others will follow. When you speak, chains will break. When you walk in your assignment, heaven invades earth through your obedience. That's why it had to be real. That's why the journey had to be deep. Because your breakthrough is contagious. It carries a sound. And when people hear it, something wakes up in them too. That's the weight of what's coming for you. It's not just about your miracle, it's about the ripple it will create. Generations will shift because you didn't quit.
Marriages will be restored because you believed again. Hope will return to broken hearts because you stood firm when everything told you to fall. You're not just stepping into destiny. You're pulling others out of darkness with every step. That's why the resistance was so strong. That's why hell tried to exhaust you, to make you quit before the release. But it's too late now. You didn't break. You bent, but you didn't break. You cried, but you didn't quit. You doubted, but you didn't disappear. And because of that, this would come for you. And now that it's here, you will never be the same. This new place, it's not just better. It's home. Not a place, a feeling of being aligned, of being alive, of being in the center of what God always planned for you. There's no striving here, no proving, just peace and presence and purpose. You're not stepping into performance. You're stepping into flow, because when you finally align with who you are made to be, everything else aligns around you. The right people, the right resources, the right opportunities. They recognize the version of you that heaven already sees, and they respond. This is divine gravity, pulling everything together, not because you chased it, but because it was designed to chase you. This is what happens when you stop running from who you are. When you stop pretending to be what others expect. When you stop fearing your own power, you finally live. And that, more than anything, is what God wants for you. Not just survival, not just success, but life in its fullest, most radiant, most authentic form. That's the promise. That's what's coming for you. Not in theory, not in metaphor, but in reality. Real rooms, real stages, real healing, real joy. And when it comes, don't shrink, don't downplay, don't hand it off to someone who didn't carry what you carried. You paid for this, in tears, in prayers, in sacrifice. So when it comes, receive it with open arms, not with guilt, not with fear, with gratitude, because this is what you were made for. You didn't imagine it. That vision that keeps returning, that idea that won't let go, that tug in your heart that defies logic, you tried to silence it. You tried to move on. You tried to be realistic, but it keeps rising. And now you know why. Because it wasn't just your imagination. It was revelation. God was showing you glimpses of what was written before time began, not to tease you, not to taunt you, but to prepare you, to let you taste what's already finished in heaven, so your faith could pull it down into the earth. Faith doesn't create the promise, it delivers it. And your faith has been doing more work than you realize. Every time you believed when there was no evidence, every time you prayed when you felt dry, every time you encouraged others while your own soul was tired, that faith moved heaven. And now, heaven is moving towards you. This isn't just your time. It's your turn.
You've watched others receive. You've clapped through tears. You've said, "I'm happy for them," when your own heart was breaking. But now the spotlight is turning. Not because you demanded it, but because God delights in honoring the humble. He exalts the ones who chose quiet obedience over loud performance. He lifts those who stayed faithful when no one was watching. And that's you. You didn't do it for applause. You did it because something deep inside said, "Don't quit." And that small yes, whispered in the dark, has become the sound that is calling down glory over your life. That's what you're stepping into. Not hype, not luck. Glory. The weight of God's presence resting on your life in tangible ways. You'll feel it in your thoughts. You'll see it in your steps. You'll carry it into rooms that never knew your name, but will never forget your impact. Because this isn't about you being somebody. It's about God being known through you. And when that's your motive, heaven opens. That's why doors are unlocking. That's why the yes is coming after so many no's. That's why the people who forgot you are suddenly remembering. Because favor is a magnet. And when God breathes on you, what used to overlook you now pursues you. But don't be surprised if some things start falling away. Not every attachment can survive the anointing. Not every relationship can handle your resurrection. Some people only knew you in the wilderness, and they won't recognize you in the promise. That's okay. Let them go with love. You don't need to prove your growth to those who never believed in your seed. You don't need to explain your next chapter to those who walked out in your last one. God is your witness. And when He elevates, He also protects. Not just your platform, your peace. Because what's coming for you isn't just a blessing. It's an assignment. And with every assignment comes divine order. This is the season where your heart will feel lighter, not because life gets easier, but because the weight is finally heaven's to carry, not yours. You're not called to do it all. You're called to do what you're assigned. That's where the grace is. That's where the flow is. That's where miracles happen, not in striving, but in obedience. So stop forcing what's not flowing. Stop begging to be seen in rooms you were never sent to change. Stop exhausting yourself trying to make things last that God has already released. If it's breaking now, let it. If it's walking away now, bless it. If it's not working anymore, surrender it. Because everything being removed is making space for what's arriving. And what's arriving is holy, uncommon, weighted with divine purpose. You've never seen anything like this before, and neither has the world, because what's coming through you isn't just a dream. It's a move of God wrapped in human form. Your voice, your gift, your story, your scars, all of it now being turned into something sacred. A message, a mantle, a mission. You are not here by accident. You are a response to prayers prayed by people you've never met, to gaps in the world only you can fill, to pain that only your presence can soften. You were sent here, and now you're being activated. No more sitting on the sidelines of your own life. No more hiding behind excuses. No more postponing obedience because of fear. What if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if you're not enough? What if you are? What if it's already written? What if your obedience unlocks someone else's miracle? What if your step is the missing piece? This is the moment you stop asking, "What if I fall?" and start declaring, "What if I fly?" Because the wind is shifting now. The current is in your favor. You're not standing where you started. You're not the same person who doubted last year, cried last month, or questioned everything last week. You're awake now. You're aware now. And you're about to move in a way you never have before. There will be days ahead where you won't recognize your own life. Not because it's perfect, but because it's right, aligned, rooted, purposeful, and filled with the kind of peace that no one can manufacture, only God can give. That peace is coming. That clarity is coming. That moment, the one you've waited for, prayed for, hoped for, is not just coming. It's here. It's unfolding while you listen. It's settling over you even now. And soon, it'll manifest in ways that leave you speechless. All because you didn't give up. All because you believed even when you barely had strength left. All because you whispered yes
One more time. That's all heaven needed. And now the wave is here. Don't resist it. Don't run from it. Just lift your hands and receive what God said would come for you. Because it has. And this is just the beginning. Some things happen suddenly. No warning, no schedule, just the unfolding of a divine yes, spoken before the foundations of the world. And when it comes, it doesn't knock, it enters. It shifts atmospheres. It rearranges timelines. It overrides rules. And it brings with it a weight that cannot be argued with, because it didn't come from man, it came from the throne. That's what's happening to you now. It's more than a feeling, more than motivation. It's a spiritual reality settling over your life. This is that moment when everything starts to make sense, not because the struggle vanished, but because the presence of God became undeniable in the middle of it. What you're feeling, it's not adrenaline, it's alignment. The trembling in your spirit isn't fear, it's recognition of something long promised, something long prepared, something holy. You can't fake this. You can't manufacture it, and you certainly didn't earn it. But it's here. And now it wants your attention.
Because he loves you too much to let you carry his promise with broken hands. So he's healing your grip, restoring your heart, teaching you how to steward what's coming, not hoard it. Because what's coming isn't just for you. It's for nations, for generations, for every person connected to your yes. That's why the calling feels too big, because it is. But you weren't chosen because of your capacity. You were chosen because of your surrender. God's strength fills the cracks where your confidence used to break. And when he fills you, fear has no room left. So stop asking if you're capable. Ask instead, is he with me? Because if the answer is yes, then there is nothing that can stand against what's been set in motion. Not doubt, not delay, not even death. God has a way of resurrecting what everyone else said was over. Dreams, callings, hearts, hope. He specializes in breath where bones once lay still. And right now, he's breathing on you. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in the air? That pull toward something more? That's your invitation into a life that doesn't just function, but flourishes. Into moments that don't just fill time, but fulfill purpose. Into connections that don't just compliment you, but call you higher. Because you're not who you used to be. You don't even think the same anymore. You're more sensitive now, not weak, discerning. You don't crave the spotlight like you used to. You want impact. You don't need applause. You need oil. You don't chase moments. You create atmospheres. You've grown, even if you didn't see it, even if you didn't celebrate it, even if no one clapped for it. You've changed. And now, everything else is catching up to what heaven already sees. That's why the provision is coming. That's why the clarity is landing. That's why the favor is unfolding without you forcing it. Because you're finally in sync. Spirit, soul, vision, voice. And when everything aligns, the impossible starts to look normal. That's where you're headed. Into the kind of life where miracles are the baseline, where divine encounters are weekly, where grace isn't just a concept, it's your daily language, where you wake up knowing you're covered and go to bed knowing you're carried. That's what was promised, and that's what's arriving. But don't be surprised when warfare increases too. Whenever the promise gets close, opposition does too. But you don't fight the way you used to. You don't beg God anymore. You speak.
You declare. You praise through it. Because now you know you're not a victim of the storm. You're the voice that calms it. God put authority in you, the power to speak life, to bind darkness, to shut down lies, to rise without waiting for circumstances to agree. And when you walk in that authority, nothing can stop what's been scheduled for you. Not fear, not history, not insecurity, not even the parts of you that still wonder, can I really carry this? Yes, you can, because you're not carrying it alone. God is with you, and He's not backing off now. Not after all the pruning, not after all the tears, not after all the lonely nights. He's too invested in your healing to let you fail. So when the blessing comes, don't sabotage it. Don't push it away because it feels too good. Don't doubt it because it came too easily. Some things aren't supposed to be hard. Some things are just supposed to be God. He is good. Let that be enough. Stop waiting for it to fall apart. It's not a trap. It's a treasure. You've passed the test. You stayed the course. And now the reward is unfolding. In conversations you didn't expect. In rooms you didn't think you belonged in. In moments that feel surreal, because they are. You're stepping into answered prayers that your past self couldn't even imagine. And when it happens, you'll know. This didn't happen because you forced it. This happened because God promised it. This would come for you. And it did. There's a shift in the room now. You feel it. Not just around you, inside you. The pressure is still there, but it doesn't scare you like it used to. The unknown still stretches ahead, but it doesn't paralyze you anymore. You're walking differently now. Not faster. Not louder, just deeper, more grounded, more whole. You're moving with a confidence that doesn't come from knowing what's next, but from knowing who goes with you. You're not trying to make it happen anymore. You're letting it come. And it is coming. Not in the way people predicted, not in the way you once planned, but in the way God always intended. Soft, sure, sovereign. This isn't just a good season. This is a God season. And the beauty of a God season is this. You don't have to carry it in your own strength. You just have to show up. Show up in the room. Show up in your calling. Show up in the quiet. Show up when it's awkward. Show up even when you're the only one who believes. Because God has a habit of turning hidden obedience into public demonstration. And when He moves in ways that leave no fingerprints but His own. You're going to look back and say, I don't even know how this happened. And heaven will whisper, I do. Because He's the God of the suddenly. And the suddenly is closer than you think. That's why the warfare increased. That's why your emotions have been on edge. That's why you've been feeling like something is about to shift, but can't explain what or how. Because your spirit knows what your eyes haven't seen yet. This is it.
The page is turning. The weight is lifting. The light is breaking through. And it's not random. It's not accidental. It's divine. There are connections coming into your life that will make you wonder how you ever did it without them. There are assignments aligning right now that were paused until you were ready to carry them with maturity. There are places, physical, emotional, spiritual, that you're being called into, not because of your qualifications, but because of your posture. You showed God you'd still say yes when everything said no. And that yes became your passport, your key, your breakthrough. That yes shifted heaven, and now heaven is shifting everything around you. People who didn't notice you before are beginning to sense something on you. It's not your charisma. It's not your talent. It's the oil, the anointing, the favor that follows faithfulness. You didn't try to stand out, but God's hand on your life made you unmissable. You didn't chase stages, but God is building platforms under your feet. You didn't demand anything, but God is delivering more than you dared to ask. Because what's coming now is personal. It's tailored. It's timely. It's too specific to be random, too rich to be man-made. It has your name on it. It knows your tears. It remembers your pain. It carries the scent of promises buried in worship, soaked in surrender, and seasoned with scars. And when it comes, you won't need to prove you're ready. You are. You won't need to strive. You'll glide. You won't need to protect it. God already has. This is the part of the story where you stop holding your breath and start breathing again. Where you stop watching the clock and realize time has already bowed to heaven's schedule. Where you stop asking, "Will it ever come?" and start praising, "Look what God has done." Because He's doing it now, not later, not someday, now. So let your posture reflect what's already true in the Spirit. Stand tall, lift your head, speak with conviction, walk with clarity. You don't have to be timid here. You don't have to make yourself small anymore. God gave you territory, claim it. He gave you a voice, use it. He gave you vision, pursue it. He gave you the right moment, and it's this one. So step in boldly, not because you know what's next, but because you know who holds what's next. This is the moment when everything hidden is revealed, when everything delayed is delivered, when everything held back is released. This is the moment heaven has been orchestrating behind the scenes while you waited in silence, wondering if anything would ever change. This is the moment when your life begins to echo the very words God whispered at the beginning. This would come for you. And now it has. You made it, not just to the end of a message, to the beginning of a miracle. You stood through storms that had every right to bury you. You walked through valleys that had no map. You wrestled with questions no one else could answer. And still, you're here, breathing, believing, becoming. You thought you lost time. You thought you missed your turn. You thought too much damage had been done. But grace says otherwise. Grace says, watch what I do with what's left. Because God doesn't need a perfect picture to finish His masterpiece. He uses broken colors, shattered frames, torn canvas, and still He paints glory. That's what He's doing now with your life. He's gathering the pieces, not to put them back the way they were, but to make something that's never existed before. You, the healed version, the fearless version, the version who's no longer trying to be understood, just obedient. The version who stopped performing and started walking in presence. This is what you were made for. Not survival, revival. Not just blessings, blueprints.
Because you're not just walking into a promise. You're building space for others to believe again. You are the evidence, the story, the voice they'll hear when they're about to give up, the light they'll see when they forget their way. You thought the battle was just about your life? No. It was about the many lives tied to yours. And now that you're stepping into freedom, others will follow. They'll feel it in your voice. They'll sense it in your words. They'll encounter God through your obedience, not your perfection. That's how powerful this moment is. That's how much weight your yes carries.
This final part, it isn't an ending. It's a sending, a launching, a releasing into everything you didn't even know you were born for. Because what's coming next isn't just restoration, it's multiplication. Double for your trouble, peace for every panic attack, joy for every tear, purpose for every ounce of pain. This is the part where you stop bracing for impact and start expecting fulfillment. Not because you forced it, but because you finally let go of control, of comparison, of trying to figure it all out. You surrendered, and that surrender turned into access. Heaven has access to your heart now, the deep places, the real places, the places where fear used to live, and faith now reigns. That's what's shifting everything. Not your talent, not your plan, your posture. God responds to posture more than performance. And now that you're aligned, doors don't open, they swing. Walls don't stand, they fall. Chains don't hold, they break. This is it. That turning point you kept asking for. That fresh wind you felt was coming. That moment where everything finally feels like home. Because it is. You're not in waiting anymore. You're in walking. And you'll walk differently now. With confidence, with compassion, with clarity. Not perfect, but present. Fully, beautifully, boldly present. And when you feel doubt try to creep in, when the enemy whispers, "Is this really for you?" just smile, because you already know the answer. This would come for you, not because you're the strongest, not because you did everything right, but because God said so. And when God speaks, the entire universe moves to honor it. So breathe easy now. You're not chasing anymore. You're catching up to what's already yours. The season has arrived. The page has turned. The light is green. Go. Step in. Speak out. Stand tall. Shine bright. Love deep. Live fully. Because this is your moment. And the world's about to witness what heaven always knew you were born for this.